In this video, we're going to talk about organizing your scene and managing your scene using the tools that we already saw, like the outliner on the left side and also the panels on the right side. And we are also going to see more tools, more features, like how to manage and organize your scene in layers. Now, we created many copies in the previous video using the arrays or the multiple copy or the duplicate or duplicate special. So we saw how we can multiply our object in the scene, for example, to create pillars or to create many copies and populate quickly our scene. And we basically switched from the outliner panel and to the tool settings. So the outliner is going to help us to manage and monitor our scene. The attribute editor and the tool settings are helping us to manage the tools that we are using and the objects that we are selecting. Now, we saw on the file menu all of these commands, which was really simple. We are increasing the level lesson by lesson. So I'm gonna save this scene here in this shortcut, in this bookmark, so we can proceed to the next lesson. I'm gonna use the previous scene that we built, and in the edit here we saw that all the things that we can do, which are pretty basic, like undo, redo. We also talked about grouping and ungrouping. So the group, it's the first way you can build up a hierarchy. So you can see that's in the hierarchy section. And when we create hierarchies, we basically assigning the parent and children feature. So when you do a group, you are basically creating a parent and a child, or a parent and children. So basically you are constructing a hierarchy. So we're gonna see that that's the first way you can manage and organize a lot of objects in your scene. Now let's go to Windows and let's get to this channel box. Well, this is another panel that we didn't talk about yet, and as you understand, every panel is something that will help you to manage some part of your scene. You can also open that same panel from the top there. On the right you will find those little buttons. So you have many ways you can access the channel box or the attribute editor or the other panels that we talked so far, or you can go back and check the lessons concerning the interface, the first lessons. So you can also go here in the general toolbar at the top, or there you go. So you can see here that the first one, it's all about grouping and setting relation with parent and children, or so parenting, unparenting, grouping, ungrouping. So we created some groups, but we didn't do the inverse, which is ungrouping. So let me undock here the creation of the Nurbs primitives, and also I will undock the menu for the polygon primitives. We already talked about the difference between these two, and we also are going to talk about this later. Now I want to show you another method of creation, which is interactive creation. So when we created objects, you usually create the object and it's gonna appear in the precise center of your scene. So it's gonna be like 0, 0, 0. But with interactive creation, you can click and drag with your left mouse, and you can create, in this case, your cube anywhere you want, and then you click again and you're gonna give the extrusion of that, or the thickness. So it's another way to create objects, and probably it's better than placing all your cubes in the middle of the scene. So for example, here I want to try to create a pavement to place underneath this column, and then I will copy this above using the Shift or the Control D, or all the other commands that we use to copy, like Control C, Control V. So I will quickly create here kind of an architecture, a structure of pillars, of columns, and there you go, some pavements, some you can see there is a little gap. Now that's fine, but it is, be careful not to be too distant from the other object, so it's going to be visible. Now you can set that also with precise measures. Right there in the attribute editor, you can set the transform attributes really precise. If you want to work extremely precise, you can use units and measures. Now, being precise costs time. So if you want to be faster, you need to be less precise, basically. But if you need to do just a render, you don't need to be so precise. But, well, choose your own path. I'm just showing you different ways you can work. So right here, I can use the move gizmo, or I can set a precise translate right there. And so let's go here, and I want to try to, you can see there, that's precise 300, but I need to do that at 315 because I'm actually, you are basically working with the pivot here. So with the axis inside the object, not with the surface that's beneath. So when you scale, rotate, and move, remember that you are doing that based on the object, so based on the pivot which is inside the object. And you can edit the pivot if you want. So let's go to Nurbs primitives. Same thing, we can do interactive creation, and let's create something else here. And later we're going to talk about both Nurbs and polygon modeling. So let's start to understand better the difference between Nurbs and polygons. So I'm switching here to wireframe, and I want to create something in Nurbs. Let's create a cylinder. So you can see that if you click on the little square instead of the direct command, you're gonna go here in the tool settings, because we actually have docked that window in the previous video. So you either do that, go through the settings on the tool settings, or you go directly into the screen or into the viewport, and again follow the instructions, click and drag. Now I'm just trying to copy the, well, not copy, but replicate the same column there, but using the other type, which is Nurbs. I'm gonna place this on the second pavement there, on the first floor. Okay, now you can see that you won't see the cylinder in the viewport, in the perspective, because we deactivated the Nurbs, but we're gonna fix that. Now, these are different methods of creation. So you can create in standard mode, in interactive creation mode, or you can use the little square to access the tool settings, or let's call it the options. So you can start there to set up your object and say, okay, it's gonna start at 0, it's gonna end at 360 centimeters, it's gonna be 20 radius, it's gonna be the height is gonna be 300, and then you just have to click inside, and that's all you need to do. So that's the axis, there you go. And I'm gonna place that back on the first floor. So it's just a different way that you can create the same thing. And again, don't mind the perspective there, it's gonna be invisible until I activate the Nurbs again. Now, I want to recreate the same cylinder with interactive creation.